Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today, together, we're going to be painting this gorgeous winter scene, step by step in acrylic on canvas. I'm going to be breaking down every technique, every step, every color mix, so that you can follow along easily at home. To help me do this on the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
We're a two-person course, so you've got me, and then you've got my co-host John, and John makes sure that the camera is pointing at what I'm painting. It's zoomed in when it needs to be zoomed in, that you can see the palette the entire time. You can see my water bucket. So you can see everything you need to see as at home when you're following along. He also helps me take questions from the live show. So if you're here for the live, here's the question vibes. Basically, if you have a question, put that question all in caps. No one's going to think you're yelling. And either one of the amazing moderators, which are like art ambassadors for us, will help you find the link to the video you're looking for or help you get your answer. They're just viewers like you that have watched almost all 3,000 lessons. So they know where all the videos are buried. Or you might get your question answered live on the show. And I want to welcome Kristen, who's at her first live.
That's right. I
See,
saw
that live. That's how live
That's
we
how
are.
live.
You might be here saying, this is my first live, and get shouted out. It can happen. Anything can happen during a live. You never know. I really actually mean that. Because really anything can happen
Well,
during the painting process, along the way.
you know what? You know what adds to that ball of randomness?
Hmm.
You know, downing a shot right before the show, just like
Yeah, a shot of coffee. A shot of coffee. I had a little espresso shot before I got going because it's a big landscape. I got to do it
It is.
live. Now I'm going to do this in one sitting, but I want to remind you guys at home that that's not the expectation of you. You can break this lesson up into several sittings. The team helps me get these time stamped, and when those are done, I put those up in the video description, making it very easy for you to find your spot again in a video. And I highly recommend just pacing yourself with it and taking your time. There's no need to like burn yourself out. I mean, you can if you want to. If you want to just paint along with me, some people do that for the fun of it to do the keep up painting spree. But honestly, however it makes you happy, do it that way because at the end of the day, you probably took up painting to be a relaxing, enjoyable activity that you do in your life. So just lean into the things that make it those things relaxing and enjoyable. Okay, let's go over
So
materials.
I'm gonna say thank you to Heather while we're getting you to be a mini me
Mini me!
and putting the
Mini me,
materials up.
mini me,
A
mini
material
me.
thank to Heather for the wonderful sticker.
Oh, thank you for the sticker. I appreciate the sticker. The sticker.
The
Materials.
materials.
The materials. All right, so it's an 11 by 14 canvas, stretch canvas. On my palette, I have Dioxazine Purple, Yellow Medium, Cad Red Medium, Quinacridone Magenta, Ultramarine Blue, Phthalo Blue, Mars Black, Burnt Sienna. This here is Satin Glazing Liquid, and this is Titanium White. Now, a note on the Satin Glazing Liquid, if you're painting pretty regularly with acrylics, I do recommend having a bottle of this around. You can get it at my art store, but you can also find it really almost anywhere art supplies are sold. And it's a very special product because it slows down the drying time of your acrylic paint and it lets you glaze. And those two things are really helpful in landscape painting. So I do recommend it. And this is the only one I recommend because it's both the slow dryer, extender, and the glaze. So it does a bunch of stuff in one product. Other than that, you could use 3 different products to get individual effects, but you'd have to use them in a layered way. You couldn't use them at the same time. You wouldn't use an extender with a glaze and get the same result. All right. That strange explanation of things is like to the thing. I'm going to have to like begin with step 1, having some fun. Why am I rhyming today?
You always rhyme on the steps.
I do, but why?
You're-
Why I do it?
Because you're a step rhymer.
Uh-oh, my glasses are flying.
There's no way
Everything's flying. I'm going to have to...
you'd be doomed on Dune. You cannot walk without rhythm. You're a rhymer.
Let me tell you right now, in the Dune universe, I don't want to be anywhere near any of the royal courts. I just want to be like a merchant that nobody pays attention to. Like a mid-level merchant, you know? Enough to have a comfortable life, but not enough for anybody to care. All right, I'm going to
Somewhere
make
chilling on
I'm going
Caladan.
to take a little brush here. I'm going to use an angle brush just real quick. I'm going to take just a smidge of my white and my yellow together. And I'm going to come down about 1/3 of the canvas. and make a little line. Just a light yellow line. And I'm going to measure to make sure I have it down far enough. So on this canvas, we are down 5 inches down. See if I made it. Gotta be down 4.5 inches. That's what it is. So am I down 4.5? Oh, I got to come down a little further. 4.5 inches down. So that's just something I'm checking to make sure that the original and this one are similar.
You could get a T-square like this just about any art store.
They should only be a couple bucks.
Yeah, that's an art store, don't we?
We do.
Yeah.
We have this one exact one that you see here in the art store.
You can go to our store at theartsherpa.com. Shameless self-promotion. Buy our stuff.
All right, I found my horizon line here. Took me a second to find it, but that's okay. We can spend a second to find it. If you don't have a T-square, you can take a paper towel and fold it along the perforated line and square it up along these two lines here. And it can help you get a square line. That's how I've had to do it in the past when, I didn't know what was going to be happening, what was going to be going on. All right, I'm going to put this brush aside for a second. And then while I'm here, I'm going to grab a little bit of my white and blue together. Ultramarine blue and titanium white. Improve flow. And I'm going to come to about here. I'll make a little line. And then I'm going to draw the little edges. If you're using the traceable, you could use it at this stage to help you get this little area.
What size canvas was this again?
11 by 14.
11 by 14. Yeah, that would be why those measurements are so large, relatively speaking.
Yeah. I'm just sketching along.
You're sketching very lightly.
I'm gonna pick it up. I will be painting over this a little bit. I just need to know how big to make my. I'm gonna come in here. I'm actually probably gonna just sketch it a little bit bigger, because I can always come in and subtract, but it's hard to add once you're putting the snow in. You can always take a little bit away from your river by putting in little snow banks. It's hard to add more river into your snow.
Oh, right.
So it's better to oversize. I'm going to come down here. And come back over here. And I think I might even make this a little bit bigger over here. That way I could just come in the whole way with my weird little banks. I have a little trick to get banks in. That's actually pretty easy to do. I'm erasing. You can take a damp brush and erase in a towel. You just take the brush. So it's just clean water on a brush. If the paint underneath is dry, you can always do this. This should give me enough of the area to have a reflection. I like to do this at this similar time because we're making mirrors. Water is a mirror. We learned that in the Wave and Water class of 2021 for Acrylic April, where we did 30 paintings all about waves and water in a row. All right, so this line here, 4.5 inches down, and this open sort of blob shape here that you can put your reflections in. And we'll be able to bring in our embankments and stuff and make it very interesting along these little edges fairly easily. All right, I'm going to call that a step.
All right.
Come back and show you what we do next.
You're going where? Look, you disappeared.
I did? Where'd I go?
And then you came back.
I came back.
And then
from outer space. All right. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my white and my glazing liquid. You can use water if you don't have glazing liquid. You want your brush just damp. You're improving the flow of the paint. I'm going to come over and grab some yellow. Making sure I have a nice load on the brush. And I'm going to come across here going back and forth to about the halfway mark. Back and forth. Light yellow. I'm going to take a lot more white. I'm going to get a little bit of my blue. I'll come like right along here. Paint this up, all this light blue. I'm going to wipe this brush out so it doesn't have very much paint on it. I'm going to come right here. Start to blend these two edges in. Back and forth.
Now this is one of those where you want to describe some of your don't get green tricks here?
So what I'm doing is I've used a very light, there's going to be a little hint of green between these two colors. We are going to get a little hint of green, but what we're doing is we're doing the sky in 2 layers. And we're using light colors to prevent there from being like a really intense green going on. And what we want to do is blend the area between where the yellow and the blue meet. There we go. And what you should have is a very soft yellow to a very soft blue transition. Now I'm going to have some weird flecks of paint. I'm going to flick off. Flick off. I don't know where those came from, but I don't want them.
Gravitational paint anomalies.
Gravitational paint anomalies. Oh, they're just being a pain. Gonna get them up, though.
They'll be behind a cloud anyway.
They will be behind a cloud, but they were bothering me, so I'm gonna just... So what I have is a very soft yellow. It gets lighter here where the blue is going to come in transition. Then we use the light blue and transition up, and then we come back and we blend between these two areas. Now, blending works well when both colors are wet. If one color were dry, it wouldn't blend at all. So you've got to make sure that the 2 zones that you're blending in are both wet. You don't want to blend up and down. That'll make your colors all muddy. You want to go back and forth. And if you're having trouble with the brush that you painted them with, a great tip is to take a dry brush and do the blend using the dry brush. And it won't move as much of your paint. Now, to do the next layer, I really got to...
Dry?
Dry.
Okay, in the drying, kaboom, I'm going to say thank you guys all for coming and being part of our lovely family. Thank you to everyone who bought some of our garage sale boxes. I don't know... I think that we're down to the dregs of them. I don't think that we have any more listed. We might be listing some more early in the week once we get some final checks. But those guys are really low. We'll probably have some new ones coming up soon. I'm definitely working on getting some individual soap product ready. Man, thank you guys for all the support and love and what's going on. Oh, there it goes. I was just like, that was something weird on the stream. Just did a little weirdo thing. But luckily it did it while we were here at the drying time. So something weird was happening. Hold on a second. I'm just looking at the... Oop. YouTube just went weirdo with the...
YouTube's been going weirdo every once in a while.
It just went totally weirdo and was like... Interesting. Okay.
Are we back?
Okay. I did it.
Excellent. I don't know what you did, but thank you for doing it.
Okay. We are on to the next step.
Okay. I have to use my imagination to know what's going on over there. Step 3. I'm going to take a little bit of my quinacridone and a little bit of my ultramarine blue, and I'm going to make a faint purple. I'm going to get a little bit of white into it. And I might get some glazing liquid in, and I'm going to come up from the top. Oh, more glazing liquid. If I feel like I have too much pigment on my brush, I'm going to wipe it out. And you could use water to do this next blend if you didn't have glazing liquid. But I would recommend glazing liquid, and I'm just going to glaze over this top. And that's how we're getting this blue above this yellow without getting a strong green.
So glazy.
We're using glazing to create that upper transition. I use my towel and I wipe off my brush a lot to control the amount of pigment on my brush. And I am just going over this, creating a very delicate, you can see, sort of transition. Now, I'm going to come in with just a damp brush here. That was just water that I used. And that's going to help me just create a soft, feathered effect. See how I'm going back over it? Pulling some out with my towel. So that a little bit of the aqua kind of peeks through. It's a very fun and yet complex sky to get. So feel really good as you're getting it in. You're taking on a big challenge. I'm just blending this until I'm happy. Now I've got a bunch of clouds that are going to go here. So since I have a ton of clouds that are going to go here, a lot of these clouds are going to kind of cover a lot of this effect. So I'm going to dry.
Okay.
And then we're going to come back in and start putting in some of those clouds.
All right. We'll do that. We'll go over here. We'll push this little button. And so what I do is I push the add insert button at the drying mark. That way it doesn't do it during the painting part. Because if I don't do that, then when it does on the playback, then it puts these ads all over the place, which just makes it so super crazy. So I put the little button at the drying mark. So if you guys see those pop up, I apologize. That is part of YouTube life, that we are an ad-driven primarily channel, which means that, you know, the advertisements that you guys see or don't see, based on whether you're like on one of those premium YouTube services, that those ads trickle down to us, and you know, we get
trickle down ads.
We get some lights on money from YouTube. So
lights on money. That's about what it is. YouTube divides up its creators into what they call verticals, which is like what your video is about. And so some videos are about things they get paid a ton more money, like makeup or gaming. And some people are in art and do not get paid a ton more money. But it's okay. We don't mind. We still love being here.
Now, that brush in your hand, is it a D brush?
It is not a D brush.
Oh, okay.
It is a number 8 Raphael d'Artagnan round.
Okay.
And I just got it a little bit wet. I'm going to come into my yellow. I'm going to get a little bit of yellow onto this brush. And I'm going to come here in the center, making little marks. And I'm going to make a little yellow cloud bank. Kind of coming up, little tiny. They're curved strokes. They're not circles. Over here and add some. Now I don't want to have too much water in my brush. That's why I always wipe it out with a towel, because if you have too much water and a stiff filament, you get foaming. That's where there's little bubbles in your paint. It doesn't hurt anything, but it can be a little bit irritating. Just continue down here. Now I've still got this edge wet here. That's going to make things a little bit easier for me. Because it's cadmium, I don't want to use my finger to blend it. I'm going to use my number 12 round blender and come in and soften this edge of the cloud. Blend it out. See, that just takes it down to a very soft, diffused edge.
I do.
I need to diffuse it here. I can diffuse it off this edge here. Diffuse it over here. This is what I use now instead of my old round brushes, and I like it a lot. It's a fantastic brush. It does clouds, it does foliage, it does blending, it does sea foam. It has just a really, the round head on it has a nice perfect shape, and it's got a blend of, I believe it's called camel or pony. I don't remember which one they called it, which is just a blend of hairs and filaments. All right, back
No.
to this brush right here.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to make little kind of little bits of clouds that come free on this little edge here. These are like little wispy ups. Little wispy ups.
Yeah, I've noticed that some of our viewers were commenting that they had wonkiness with their video. You may just have to refresh, just like refresh the page, and sometimes that'll help it rebuffer and be okay. So, what that blue brush? Oh yeah, that was the.
This is the number 12 round blender by Princeton. It's in the
Okay.
Select line. Round blender, number 12, Princeton Select. This is my favorite round blender. I have tested all of them, and I still like this one the best because it just performs better with acrylic paint. It doesn't overwet. It's got some great temperament to it. I'm going to take a little bit of my Cad Red over to my yellow, and I'm going to make an orange over here. Just a bright orange. I'm going to come over from the side. Just bringing a little run of clouds in.
You're just in the clouds
And I'm
now,
going to
aren't you?
come in and I'm going to taper this down. Might get a little bit of glazing liquid just to improve the flow. And also so I have some blendability in a second. Coming through here. My paint's wet. It's going to be the important part. And I'm going to get my round blender again. And soften the bottom of the cloud. See how we've softened it? Got a nice hard edge up top. Softness down below. I'm going to come in and give it a little bits of cloud that come free. And then over here on the far side, I'm going to take a little bit of my quinacridone and my Cad Red. And darken the back of the cloud a little bit. Got a little cumulus there for a second. Sometimes I build up on my clouds and they get too built up. And I can come back with my round blender again and soften the base of that cloud. Nudging it.
Just nudge it over.
Nudge it over. I'm going to blend it around the back. It has a nice blend around the back. Blendy, blendy, blend. Every once in a while, I like to rinse out my round blender. Oh, I boo-booed.
What's that?
I boo-booed paint at the front of my canvas.
Oh, well, yeah. That'll be covered later.
Erase. I just took a damn brush and erased. Okay, so right now I have my darker color in my brush, so I'll go ahead and... Actually, no, I'm going to come down into my yellow. I want orange. Make a nice orange. We're going to come over from this side. Similar. Get a little glazing liquid. It slows down, the glazing liquid slows down the drying time on my paint, so I have a chance to be fussy with whatever I'm doing with my cloud.
That makes sense.
You know, as I'm coming forward, I might get more yellow into my orange. Just bring this back here. And now I'm going to take my round blender and soften the bottom of the cloud. Just soften the bottom of that cloud. Around the edge, maybe. Just getting in some little clouds today. Little clouds, little clouds. Little airy bits. And then I can always come into a little bit of my quinacridone.
Thank you very much, Mary Kate, for that cool sticker.
Thank you for the sticker, Mary Kate. And we're going to darken the back end of this cloud. And then I will go ahead and blend that as well. Oh, no.
That erased it.
That erased because it was wet. Too
Oh.
wet. That'll happen. If the brush is too damp, it can erase instead of blend. So now I'm taking my towel and I'm getting it just down to lightly damp. There we go. So see, sometimes even you see me do a technique on here and you'll feel like you're following along exactly, but a little micro problem like having just a touch too much water on your brush comes along and then messes up your result. Blendy, 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 blendy. Just creating that nice little thing there. Now I'm going to come up here. Make a little bit of orange. Oh wait, I'm using the wrong brush. My round blender is for blending.
A blender for blending?
It's a blender for blending.
How
unusual.
I
just wanted to do it with you. I'm going to make a nice bright yellow orange. I'm going to add a little bit of white to it. Kind of a little peachy going. And we're going to come up here. Just add a touch of the lightest little clouds in peach. Just the toe of my brush really connects with this. And notice how I'm just trying to make these really random up and down motions. There we go, a little bit there. Then I want to take a little bit of my Cad Red, a lot of my Quinacridone, and some of my Dioxazine Purple. Get a little white. A little more Cad Red. Come up here. From up top, and I'm going to bring down a little bit of a cloud. Some glazing liquid. It doesn't dry on me so fast. A little glazing liquid here at the edge. And I'm going to want to come and lift and blend a little bit of my cloud. I use my towel. And I'm just making sure that the base of this cloud is light and diffused. See how we're doing?
Yeah.
A little bit of a nice cloud. Let's come over and do something similar on the other side. Bring this across here. And then I'm going to come in with a little bit of my blender. And just soften this little edge. I'm wiping off between brush strokes onto my towel so that I'm lifting up paint. I'm subtracting a little bit of paint as well. Tempted to want to get in there and finger blend, but I'm going to resist that temptation. Just because I don't want to give you guys the example of touching cadmium paints. I'm just making sure that my clouds wrap around the edges of my canvas. All right. Look at us getting in a little sky. Rinse our brushes and put them down. And then last little cloud bank. Maybe a little more orange into this mix here. A little more white. Kind of a crazy little peach that's going to come down here. Maybe a little more purple. Just kind of weird little color. And this just comes right down into the horizon line. I've got bushes and stuff coming here, so I don't really have to carry the whole cloud banks across there. I just want to make sure the clouds go flush to the horizon line. See how I'm flushing them to the horizon line?
Yep.
Make an interesting little cloud bank. Clouds can be frustrating. Takes a minute to become friends with clouds. But when you do, when you finally do, you'll love it. It's worth the journey.
Just got to keep your head in the clouds.
Got to keep those head in clouds. Every time you stop your car and you see clouds, imagine how you'd paint them.
That was.
I mean, not enough to block the intersection, but just general, like while you're killing time at a long red light.
That's probably one of the first things that changed for me watching Cinnamon paint. Is I would start looking at clouds. Remember?
Yeah, it's something that should happen. Like as you journey along, you should start becoming like kind of obsessed and looking at the clouds, just to see how they're going. All right, we're gonna dry all this, and then we're gonna come back and add some white lining.
Ooh. Drying time. Time to dry the surface so you don't use heat because it's bad for the painting. That's not good. So yeah, don't use heat. It's bad for the painting. Just use air. Heat can cause unexpected side effects to your paint, which you don't want. So don't do that. In the meantime, thank you guys for coming and hanging out. We really appreciate all the likes, comments, subscribes, shares, the super chats, the stickers, all the things and all the places. Man, thank you guys. We really appreciate all of that support and just love seeing your smiling faces.
Smiling faces.
As they say.
As we say. Are there any questions while I sip my kombucha?
I have very many.
Very many? I would love to answer some very many questions because I want to sip my kombucha for a second.
All right. Now,
stretch your back and neck and make sure you're sitting okay. Thank you, Deborah.
Now, okay. So let's talk about watercolor brushes versus acrylic brushes.
Yes.
Okay. Why is there can you use watercolor brushes for acrylic? Can you use acrylic brushes for watercolor?
You can, and sometimes you can use watercolor brushes and do use watercolor brushes for acrylic because sometimes you can get finer lines with watercolor brushes or soft blending, especially the ones that are synthetic. Not as much the ones that are hair, the ones that are synthetic. But once it's an acrylic brush, it kind of stays an acrylic brush because acrylic ruins the watercolor brush for watercolor because the acrylic gets into the ferrule and starts to kind of blow out the brush over time. And acrylic's pH can wear down a brush and stuff.
You know what helps that? Sherpa soap.
Sherpa soap is very helpful for that. Washing your brushes after every single painting session is very useful. But I'll show you an example I pulled out because I wanted to get a finer line. This is a number 4 Raphael Corel, and it's an all media brush, but it's really fantastic for watercolor. And a lot of times watercolor brushes come to a finer point. So if you're having trouble getting fine lines, the synthetic versions of these can be nice to keep around. I'll show you how small they can get. Look how tiny this one is. Don't do that. Gotta get it all back together. Gotta shape it. But you can see that it's hair fine. But once I use it for acrylic, then it's going to stay acrylic.
Now, another question. What's a D brush?
A D brush. A D brush is, let me see if I've got a synthetic one.
And what do you use it for?
D brush does all kinds of things. It's good for bushes. It's good for clouds. It's good for ground. What it is it has a nice curved edge like a filbert and then a rounded blended edge. So it's like half of a round blender. And so you can work it like this and get like crisp edges, but then you can like also use it to create bushes and landscape and feathered effects. It's just a brush that as you roll it through your hand, the corners can do little details. It's a handy dandy little brush.
Someone got one in a garage sale box and was like, "What is this?"
Oh, it's a lot of fun, and we use them a lot. And my mom uses them, and I use them, and I think that they're fantastic. I introduced them to the whole. I've gotten them all out everywhere because it's a multiple brush. You have multiple brush sides and everything for it, and I love that. All right.
Okay, I think that was and last community based question. Do you remember seeing any videos about New Zealand? Not offhand.
seeing videos about New Zealand.
Somebody sent somebody's trying to get some videos to you about some cool stuff, I think, in New Zealand. So
I don't think I did see that. I'm
Okay.
so sorry. I try to see all the messages and inboxes that I get, but we do get a lot, and so I do miss some. But I'm never ever ignoring anybody.
yeah, no, I just that would be something we'll keep an eye
Thank you
out for them.
sending that, though.
Yeah.
I like New Zealand. I think it's a very cool place. It's a very cool place.
It's where Hobbiton is.
Yeah. All right. So now I'm going to take my number 6 Raphael round. It's in the sepia line.
I think this is now step 5.
Step 5.
Or is it step 4?
The mods will let you know. I don't know. I'm going to come here in the little center of this yellow and paint a little white sun. Once I get that little sun in, I'm going to take a little bit of white paint and come here and just go up and down using little kind of rounded brush strokes, make a tiny little white cloud bank. Right there. Little white cloud bank. Come over this other side, maybe do another one. Rinse out. Little tiny cloud banks. Pick up. Erase some of my cloud bank. Get a little glazing liquid to improve the flow. You could also use water to improve the flow. Mediums and water are just modifying the paint's body. I'm coming around this cloud and I'm doing what's called white lining the outer edge of the cloud. Like light is kind of reflecting around it, giving it a halo. You can use fluid acrylic paint to do this as well, but you can do it with the heavy body just slightly thinned. A little bit there. So just kind of in the haloing on that inside. Just coming through here and adding a little white line.
So while you're white lining,
While I'm white lining.
how would you describe a quill brush?
Well, a quill is about how the brush is formed and tied.
You can't show one. How would you describe it though? If you were to,
It looks like a hobbit brush, like a hobbit or
like
magic
a
wand.
magic wand brush.
It's a magic wand brush. There is the head is tied with sometimes it depends on where you get it from, but generally it's covered in either leather or plastic, and it's tied with these wires, and it's got this beautiful shape to it and this lovely round head that comes to a great point. And then it just is. I really love the ones that have the leather there.
Yep.
But there's a bunch of them, and they just look magical. We put them in. There's a quill brush in the garage sale box.
Would you consider it wicked cool?
I would consider it wicked cool.
See, I thought so.
Did somebody find a quill brush and thought it was wicked cool?
I said it was wicked cool.
Oh,
That was my descriptor.
well, it is wicked cool. Very cool looking brush. Don't take the wires off.
Yes.
They keep the brush together, and don't remove the wires. Sometimes that's the hardest part about the quill brush, I think, for new artists, is not using it because it's a brush that's very easy to use, but is dealing with the fact that if you didn't know that you're not supposed to remove the wires.
Then you ever see those boxes that look like they're made of butterflies? That's what happens.
I'm going to add a little bit of white up here to this little cloud bank. Hmm.
Just putting those edge lights on, huh?
No edge lights. A little bit of glow. A little bit of light in the distant sky. That's all we really got to do. And then we just dry that right there. We have that nice little dramatic sky.
Ooh.
Woo!
It's a dramatic sky. Well, thank you guys for coming and being part of all this. Yeah, you can find a lot of these different brushes on our store, but they're available in lots of different places too. Quill brushes are primarily used in watercolor. They're really cool, and lots of people really like them because they're really enjoyable to use. You feel kind of magic when you use them, so they're a fun brush to have in your stuff.
I agree. All right. Time to get the T-squares back out. So I'm going to take the T-square above to my horizon line where the paint comes down below that line. And I'm going to grab a 1/2-inch angle brush. Get a little bit of water. Come over to my ultramarine blue. It has a little bit of Quin Magenta in it, but I don't mind. And I'm going to come along this little edge here. Lift that up, and that should give me a straight, crisp horizon line. Any brush, you could use a bright here, anything that just lets you get a crisp edge. Just pulling up a little bit of blue. Now I don't have to worry as much about these outer edges because I have a row of forward bushes coming. So I'm just right now just painting the whole snow forward, a little bit of blue and white. Now I will come over this with my reflection and have to paint it back in. But right now I'm just kind of creating an underpainting, if that makes sense.
It does.
And I'm going to be doing it for a second because I chose a 1/2-inch angle brush.
So if you chose something a little bigger, it might go faster.
It would go faster.
That's okay. We're not in a race.
We're not in a race, and I'm just painting it in. Just painting all this in. Do we have any more questions?
Oh, let's go back up here and see. There was.
We might not have them, I know.
Oh, there's lots of chit chatting in here. Lots of fun stuff. I'll go back up here. There was a. Oh yeah, there were some questions about product availability and store stuff, and I think we answered that in here. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking questions about product availability and store stuff. I appreciate it.
Now this is interesting. Could you paint this in watercolor?
Yeah, you could paint this in watercolor. You would do it differently because watercolor paints from lightest to darkest, and acrylic paints from darkest to lightest, essentially. So, or mid-tone, really, and then darks and then lights. But watercolor, you really want to go from your lightest values and then layer in your darker values as you go. And you have to mask some of this to hold the pure white.
Thank you.
In a couple places, or you would use gouache, like on the lining and stuff like that. You might use gouache. So some different stuff, but any of the design, anything that you see that's painted in oil or acrylic, there's a way to paint it in watercolor. It just may change a little bit.
Yeah.
How you paint it. I'm just making sure that there's a nice snow blue base to work from. I'm not even worried that much about directionality. I just want a nice coat of blue.
Right.
I'm kind of taking it around the edges a little bit so that the canvas looks good and finished. You could also paint the edges completely. But you do need to paint at least around the curve so when it frames, the white of the canvas doesn't show. All right, when you have that in.
That in? Uh-huh.
And then
I have a question I'll answer while you're drying.
Okay, you answer it.
Okay.
I trust you.
So, over here we had a question I saw that is, what is gouache paint? Gouache paint is a sort of, it's a paint that's very similar to an acrylic paint, but it shares more in common with watercolor than I think it does acrylic, because it's not a synthetic paint. It uses a different binder, and it's more chalky than your watercolor, or than your watercolors can be, but they're much more opaque. And a lot of people really like these because you can get sort of a hybrid quality of both worlds when working with them. What are your thoughts on gouache?
When what regard? Is it a good medium?
What is gouache?
Gouache is a similar paint to watercolor. They have the same binder, but gouache is an opaque paint that you can layer in opaque layers over it, where watercolor is transparent. So you can actually use gouache and watercolor together. Like you do a watercolor background and then you do gouache top. And it's got some similarities to acrylic in that it dries very quickly and is challenging to blend or get transitions on. But it's different than acrylic in that it stays activatable with water. So like even after it's all dry, if you come back with a damp brush, you can reactivate the paint and improve blending there.
Gouache Top is the next heavy metal band. We are Gouache Top!
We're something.
On to step 6.
Step 6. I'm going to get a smaller brush. I'm going to get a number 6 Raphael d'Artagnan round. I just want a smaller hog little round because I want to do some little bushes, but I want to have them be a little airy-fairy. So I got it wet. I'm going to take some Cad Red over to my Dioxazine Purple. Cad Red over to some Dioxazine Purple. I'm going to come over here. Come up. Very carefully tapping out the shape of a tree. Edges here. Sometimes it's nice to do a little break. The hard thing about this is remembering tree. You've got mine as a reference, so you can copy exactly that. But when you're just sort of painting these from, memory or not from reference, the hard challenge is remembering tree shape. The tree goes. Grow, grow, grow.
Just letting that tree spread its little branches, huh?
Yeah, and then tree goes down into some bushes. Now bring this down just a little bit further. And do another little one here. I'm letting some of the canvas show through because that's like in leaves, like some of the light would show through. Now I'm gonna have stone banks and stuff coming up over this, so I'm just making sure that my bushes go into the ground. And right about here in relationship to where the water is. So it's not dissimilar to the clouds, what we gotta do. Kind of filling that in. Now I might grab a little more Dioxazine Purple. Kind of come in down low and make sure that this is a little bit darker. That the depth of the bushes is a little bit darker. Center of some. So see, we've just darkened it a little bit. I'll rinse out. And I'm going to take some Cad Red and some Cad Yellow together and I'm going to make a nice orange. Just on the toe of my brush. And I'm going to kind of halo out some little leaves that are orange. This is the edge of the bush being a little bit orange. It's because the light's coming through and kind of highlighting these little leaves. All right, kind of a background bush going. All right, back into my purple with my Cad Red. Come over here, and this time I'm going to wipe my brush a little bit. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to just brush in the shape of the tree with little backward strokes. Maybe I might get some quinacridone in there.
Just kind of
Little backward strokes.
brushing those little branches in.
Yeah. There's sort of an upward growth in this particular copse of trees. Now I'll go ahead and like, oh, add a little more purple because it's going to be darker at the base anyways. I'm going to come across here. It's going to end right there. I'll bring in some darker color at the base.
You know, I'm sitting here watching chat. There's so many questions about brushes. We're going to have to do a QA where we can have people come in and just ask.
You know, I did a video where I went over every material that I use in my studio and why.
Oh, yeah, that's a great video that'll cover all this stuff. So all
We'll
your
cover
brush
a lot of
questions.
it. I don't mind going. I'm going to go over brushes again because we're doing Technique Tuesdays, and so we're gonna
Yeah.
cover things like brushes. It's going to be kind of like our coming back to school kind of thing. And so you'll see those. Like, I think the next one though is we're going to paint a snowy pine tree, just a snowy pine, like a realistic snowy pine tree, and then the one after that I'll be blending, and I can kick brushes and stuff into those. I can get brushes involved.
Indeed.
I'm going to add a little bit of red here. Maybe a little Quinacridone Magenta.
You don't want to involve the brush because the brush will involve you.
The brush be something. All right, I'm going to come here and...
I don't know why our brushes are WWE fighters now. Maybe they're monster trucks. I don't know. Hard to have grown up in the 80s and 90s and not have those sort of,
mental moments.
Yeah, those commercial voices stuck in your head.
On this tree, I'm just tapping up and down, and I'm allowing the brush to like leave little leaves, A little bit darker, so if it's darker, I'm going to bring that down here to the base. The base is a little bit darker.
Ooh, that's weird. Our stream was flickering for a minute.
It's been flickery today.
It's been flickery. I'm going to watch it. If it flickers anymore, I'm going to reset it.
Well, it knows what it's done. I'm going to grab a little bit more of the purple and make sure that I've got nice, deep bushes.
Okay. Yeah, it seems to be better now. It was acting weirdo for a second. Don't like it.
Don't like it.
But it's better now.
Okay, back to the orange. Back to the orange, orange, orange. Adding a little bit of haloing on the edges. Maybe a little bit to the edges of the tree. A little bit to the edges of the tree. So a little bit of haloing there. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my white and my ultramarine blue. Come along here, my round brush. Give me a nice contrast for the little grassies that come up. But we're just kind of adding a little snowbank to this. Got a little snowbanky edge to it. All right, we're going to want to dry everything. Yep. Dry, 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 dry.
Dry time. Gotta dry time. Sometimes that happens. Just gotta dry. So, and you want to do that so that it layers up properly. You know, a lot of this is about having dry layers on top of each other that don't muddy up. So that's why there's so many dry times that you have to stop and thoroughly dry between this, and it really does help build the layers up and make this sort of image look like this. And so we get these moments of dry time they're fleeting moments.
Fleeting moments.
Fleeting moments of dry time.
Fleeting moments. Just drying it enough so we can layer. Drying enough so we can layer. Going to grab my number 6 Raphael round. I'm going to take a little bit of my Quin Magenta down to my Dioxazine Purple. Quite a dark color. I'm going to come here on this side of the bush. Make sure that my brush is coming to a nice point so I can do a good tree. Tapping up and down. Tap it all the way down. Try to do as straight as you can. These branches go down. Look at that just real quick and make sure I'm straight. Yeah. Not that trees don't lean in the forest, so if your tree gets a lean on it, don't panic too much. Trees lean in the forest. Now the other side.
This is the introspective part of tree.
The introspective part of tree. Yeah, we're just tapping out little lower facing branches. We want to make irregular branches coming down. I might go ahead and grab a little bit of the phthalo blue over here, and that darkens it again. And I'm going to make a shorter little buddy.
He prefers to be known as less tall.
Less tall buddy.
Less tall, buddy.
All right. Wherever we got to go. I don't got to paint every pine needle, but I do need to paint the shape of the tree.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You get one side of the tree first?
Yeah, I try to get one side and then I flip over to the other side.
Hmm.
Because I can only imagine one side of the tree at a time.
Ah,
No. It just keeps it organized for me.
that makes sense.
And do some little other side of the tree. And the other thing that you can do is like when you do one side, you can make sure you're not creating like symmetry, too much symmetry. The other part is when we get the snow in there, it really makes the tree sort of show up.
Yep.
And I'm going to just, there's a little bank there. And come over here, same thing.
It's interesting how you do the one side of the tree first.
Just keeps me organized.
Yep.
Lord knows I'm not organized at home, so I got to do something. And what's nice about this is you can create these little delicate moments in the tree to, you know, show that these are one kind of tree and these are pine trees and that you have a different sort of forest happening back here in the back area. Little bush there. Another little bush here.
This is, again, introspective tree.
Introspective tree.
You're deep in the thought about the tree balance.
I'm deep in the thought about the tree balance. So I'm just trying to make sure that I have irregular edges, that they're not a mirror of each other, and that it has a natural aspect to it that feels like a tree you might run into out in the white woods. All right. I am going to dry this and we come back, we're going to add some snow and trunks and branches.
Oh.
Oh.
So, when we get back, there will be snow and trunks and grasses, which should be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to when we start to get to the lake part. That's the exciting. I like the reflection, and I can't tell you how dimensional it really looks when you paint this. It's a super cool look. So
What is?
the dimensionality of that lake pond thing when
Oh,
real
yeah,
life
that's going to be
hits,
real fun when we put that in.
super good.
I'm going to enjoy that. But we got to put in some snow and some branches. We have some background stuff to work on. I'm going to take my white over here to this mix and I'm going to get a slight kind of more burgundy color there. It has a little bit of the Quin Magenta in it. And then I'm going to come from the bottom and just tap a little bit of a branch there. A little bit of one here. I'm just adding some snow.
Now, this is purple snow. I mean, I've heard of purple rains. I guess there would be purple snow.
Well, the snow reflects kind of the color and value and hue of what's around it. So if you've got something that's distant, it's nice to take like a little bit of the hue of the object that you're working from
See,
and work it in.
I don't know. I think this could be a sunset Prince would perform in front of.
Well, that would be magical.
Purple snow.
I'm going to continue to snow on my tree here. I'm just taking to the tops of the branches. I'm trying to remember that there are branches down the middle of the tree just to give it some three-dimensionality. I'm leaving lots of dark. And the reason I leave lots of dark is so that the tree has shape. Okay, now I'm going to take a little bit over into the Phthalo Blue, Dioxazine Purple. Bring a little white over to it. Just kind of bring little areas up where we're highlighting branches. And it just kind of makes that pine tree come to life.
Yes.
And maybe add a little snow, just a smidge, to the bushes underneath. And then come over here. We've got a snow over here. Snowing over here. Snowing over here. Got a snow over here.
See, now I've been thinking about purple snow. That would have been my favorite holiday song.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You would have been loving that one? That would have been
it.
the one that you jammed out to?
See, now I have to go find one of those.
My favorite Christmas song is kind of a bah humbug song, so. Of course, I love Wham.
Yeah.
Don't remember the name of the band that did my favorite Christmas song. I don't know if it's like the Pretenders or somebody. Clearly, it's somebody. Song didn't just magically arise out of the ground. Sometimes you'll see me roll my brush and catch a little bit of paint back on the tip. That's just so I can maintain control over what I got. And the trick again is make sure that you leave lots of dark. Lots of dark. Just putting my brushes to the side. Now I'm going to grab, I think I'm going to grab this number 4 Corel. Get it wet. See if it's a fine enough point to do some great tree branches and trunks. I'm going to roll it, see how it does. Oh, check your brush for that hidden water drop whenever you're working with the rounds, because boy, they hide up the handle and then they collect their friends and they come down and they drop on your painting at the most inopportune time. Now I'm going to bring a little trunk here. It's going to stop. Maybe it stops again. There's little breaks in it. Bring a few little branches up. Playing with the branches today. So they're in black at first. And one down here. Curving little brush strokes up. And then I'm going to come over here. Just concentrate on getting nice little fine branches coming off. That one's nice. I like that. Little branches. They don't show until we highlight them though. All right. Rinse brush out. Rinse to clean water. I'm going to go ahead and thin some white. You use it with water or glazing liquid, but you just want a nice thin white that will come off your brush in a fine line.
Fine line.
And I may put on my glasses so I can see what I'm doing for this next little bit because it's some delicate surgical work.
Right.
Get a little bit of white on your brush. And on the inside of the branches. A little bit of snow on the trunks.
That really catches the highlight there.
Shows you where the little trunks are. Little highlights. Fine as you can make them. Fine as you can make them. If any of them get too bright, you can just come back with a little bit of a grain color and kind of knock them back. See what I'm doing? That was just a little bit too bright for the area. So if you feel like they're too bright, you can come back and glaze them with a color that knocks them back. Now let's dry all of this so we don't smear our fine line work.
Yep.
Come in, we'll do some reflection, I think, next.
All righty. So, dry. And then don't use heat. But yeah, this is the point where you really want to make sure you do dry this, because if you accidentally drag your hand across this, they will smear. And so it's really a good idea just to take it, thoroughly dry it, and you'll be ready for that next step so it doesn't smear.
Smear. Something's going to smear.
9.
9 what?
It's a step.
Oh. I thought you were saying no to me in German. I was like, why? Just moving some of my brushes out of the way so I can get to the next group of brushes that I'm using. I try to keep the brushes that I use set aside so I wash all of them after every painting session. That way I don't let a brush get ruined on me. I'm going to use a 3/8 inch, or 3/8? 3/4 inch, 3/4 inch angle brush here. I'm going to go ahead and get clean water on my brush.
You doing some snow here?
No, we're going to come right in the middle.
Ooh.
Ooh. We're going to use some yellow. I'm going to come right in the middle here. Vertical strokes. Go a little bit past my little snow thing. Get glazing liquid where I need to. Yeah, that would be nice. Just brushing back and forth. Trying to keep it as vertical as I can. Maybe a little more red as I come out this little edge here. Just getting this first layer in. I go over what I've got a little bit. Gonna rinse out. Gonna try some more yellow. Blend it out towards the left. Using my towel to sort of wipe off any paint that I don't want there. And get a little bit of my quinacridone into this little outer edge a bit. A little quinacridone. Glazing liquid if I need it. Grab a little bit of yellow. A little more yellow, just kind of blending and working out. Now I'm going to have to dry this in a second. I have to dry. Good timing.
I sensed
You sensed a disturbance in the force.
that there was wet paint.
There is a disturbance in the force.
So we came back to allow dry time. Because drying time is a special time where these long chain molecules begin to collapse and wrap around each other, and they form this bond that becomes almost impenetrable. It's a shield of acrylic that holds together. And you're watching it happen right before your eyes. Isn't that thrilling? Or not? I don't know. Like, we just watched paint dry, and I tried to make it as exciting as possible.
Well, do what you can do, you know?
I do.
All right. Well, that's all we can do is what we can do. All right. I'm going to take a little of my Dox Purple to the side so I can work with it. And I'm going to grab some Quin Magenta. And I'm going to start to add a dark kind of reflection to these outer edges.
That somebody has a feeling over there. He's like, "Hey, you turned the lights out on me." He was sleeping, so I turned the lights out.
Aw. All right, now I'm going to wipe my brush off. And I'm going to very carefully kind of feather. I'll go into my yellow and get some yellow back in. A little bit of orange. A little more orange than that, though. More yellow to the orange. A little bit of reflection off to the side. Gonna come from the bottom up. Gonna get a little bit of my Cad Red and my Dox Purple together. A little bit darker purple on this outer edge. A little bit up there. And then I might go ahead and get some these colors sort of on my brush. And the snow and the surrounding trees. I'm doing good. I need to dry everything. Oh, but I get a cup of coffee. I'll let it air dry. Take questions. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to enjoy my coffee. Take some. You okay?
Yep. Just a little.
That's what my paint towel is for.
I drippitied.
You drippity? I'm going to drippity into my mouth.
I have one too. Ooh, yummy.
I'll
go see what the questions are in just a second,
Okay.
but I gotta go.
Yeah.
Coffee.
Coffee.
Alrighty, let's go see what
Smells good too.
There was a coffee machine being run upstairs. Yes, there was. Well, it's an espresso machine.
The Rancilio.
That's right, it is.
The Rancilio. We found a used one that had like died a big death, and John managed to repair it and get it back into working order.
Yeah, well, it's just a big solid chunk of copper and a boiler and some basic stuff. So all you do is regasket it and clean all the.
That's all it is.
You know,
just some parts and some gaskets and some boilers and some mechanical stuff. And it's like,
it's very cool. It's a little tiny.
This
boiler.
is my whole like fix a thing. Turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. Shake it. If it doesn't come back from that, I don't know what to tell you. It's gone from me.
No, it's this was a very fun thing, but I have to tell you, what's that internet meme where it's like where the wife asks the husband to go make a coffee?
Oh, dude, I would win that. That TikTok, I would absolutely win that. I've been winning that for years. I don't even get the like couples who are like unwilling to get up and get each other something. It's so weird. Honestly, John and I can ask each other for anything, and the other one just goes and gets
It's
it.
true.
I don't know how that was even a test. It's just. I love all the guys that like, yeah, okay. Because John's like, yeah. Like if I'm like, hey, can I get a cup of coffee? John's like, absolutely.
Well, that means
So
I get one
nice.
too. I'm
That's
self-motivated there. I get half that. It makes two at a time.
Two at a time. It's coffee time.
It's coffee time.
Coffee time.
Coffee with my
Woo.
best friend. So it's like
But if you go online, you can see lots of videos, and there's some of the husbands just have a lot of stuff to say to get out of it. Some of the wives have a lot of stuff to say to get out of it. That's almost as funny as the ones that are like, yeah, of course.
we're good. But
Weird TikTok test for like relationships, I think is like a red flag. Personally, I think if I found somebody who was testing me for TikTok,
if you
that's not a green flag. It's really not.
Right, if any of your relationship conversations start with "this was a test," it probably is a red flag.
It's very, yeah, unless it's like one of those like, I don't know, quest tests where you end up with like a free Disney vacation or something. There needs to be a good prize at the end of that test. Not TikTok views. It needs to be, I tested you because there was a secret test that was originated by Disney.
That's right, where we won a vacation.
We won a vacation if you would just do this thing for me. I would do that. I wouldn't be mad at that at all. I think I want a Disney vacation.
That's true. Disney vacation. I think I want a
could
Disney
use a
vacation
Disney
too.
vacation right about now.
But this is
it's great when the kids get to go too, but really the vacation is for me.
One would say that we're in mid-reflection.
We're in mid-world.
Well, see that you're in the middle of the reflection of the lake.
We're almost done reflection.
Mid-reflection.
We have to finish some bright center stuff but we're getting there, and then we got to build the snow around the world now.
But we're also reflecting on the coffee.
But we're reflecting on coffee and reflecting on our life choices that have brought us to this moment.
See, we are existentially mid-reflection.
Yeah. My angst has a body count. All right, so.
So.
Any questions?
Oh, man. What's your favorite cartoon?
My favorite cartoon is really tough. I can tell you cartoons that I love. I love Steven Universe. I love Adventure Time. Now I can't think of any cartoons. Star versus the Forces of Evil. I'm trying to think of some like vintage cartoons that I was really, really into. I was really into He-Man. I'm not gonna lie. It was deep into He-Man. That one was real for me.
I watch all the GI Joes, and then of course
I would
Robotech.
watch G.I. Joe or like you introduced me to Robotech. I watched all of Robotech, but that was thanks to John. That was actually really, really good. There's a bunch of animes that I really, really like.
Yeah, so it's
but I don't actually consider those to be cartoons.
Right. So we're
much as animated
drawing
films.
a line around cartoon is a interesting challenge because it's
It
like
is.
what era, what style,
Everything
what
by Studio
medium,
Ghibli.
what
Everything by Studio Ghibli, but Spirited Away of all the Studio Ghibli is my favorite. And then I do love my neighbor Totoro, of course, and I do love Ponyo very much, just for the visual gorgeousness of it. I did not like Hedwig and Earwig or Hedwig or whatever. I don't know. Somebody else did the animation. It just didn't register as Ghibli. And of course, Howl's Moving Castle, right? So all those are great. If you haven't seen those, Howl's Moving Castle, Spirited Away, those are amazing, magical animated films. And what I like about them is Ghibli doesn't require friends to betray each other to move the plot forward. You don't have to have that like necessary, where like two friends are close, but then one friend betrays the other friend, and then they've got to apologize and come together. Life lesson learned. The friends in the Studio Ghibli universe are not stabbing each other in the back. Their challenges are the outside world. Kind of like how in our lives, we're not running around stabbing our friends in the back left and right? You're not doing that. You're probably trying real hard to be there for your friends and trying to show up in the busy world that we're in. I mean, that's my thing, is trying to show up in the busy world we're in.
So if I throw out like Charlie Brown and the Great Pumpkin Patch, that's
so cute. The Charlie Brown stuff and wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, I'd like
It's just
that.
fantastic. Everything in the 100-acre wood is good. That's a rhyme. Everything in the 100-acre wood is good. My mom was a huge fan of Winnie the Pooh, so I had a lot of Winnie the Pooh as a kid. My mom loved it. She used to like quote Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh was like big, big central stuff for my mom. And isn't it interesting that I'm not like Cinderella or any of the Disney movies? Not that all of those aren't great. They're all great. So it's very strange what I really, really love. I love Star vs. the Forces of Evil so much that I used it to explain to the people who did Game of Thrones how badly they messed up last season. Wrote a big letter. I mean, they drug me through years of my life to end it like that. It was kind of like the Lost situation.
Yep, there's a whole generation of Animaniacs in the audience.
Oh, yeah. Animaniacs is fantastic.
How else are you going to learn all your states?
Right? Or where you sit in the universe.
This is true.
It's just completely true. That was very educational.
In
many ways.
And it made sure that we all knew how to properly say hello to nursing staff.
I certainly like some cartoons that like have like, I'm always in that thing where like, I liked Powerpuff Girls.
Yep.
Like Powerpuff Girls. I did like Ren and Stimpy. I'm not gonna lie. Ren and Stimpy.
I was a Beavis and Butthead. Just loved it.
I watched Beavis and Butthead, but I was always sort of iffy on Beavis.
No,
and Butthead.
it came right in the teenage boy phase.
You have to be one.
Yeah, it's I still have friends from that that watch that and
people wondering and now for the live think like, do they not teach this painting? Do they just chat?
Like, I see the brushes and the paint and what are you doing?
Well, let me be a good example. Is painting is not supposed to be an endless march into a destination where you just trug along step by step, never resting or taking a minute to enjoy yourself or how you're feeling now that you're being creative.
We put steps at the bottom so you can skip around.
Yeah, you can skip around. You don't have to listen to us talk. It's okay.
You can hit pause, walk away,
and then fast forward and skip it. No need to leave a comment.
We know.
No, leave a comment, but not telling me that I talk too much because we know.
We know we talk.
We know we talk a lot. We know. We're aware. All right. Do we have any questions before I hop back in? So I can take my last 3 sips.
Oh, let's see here. I'm sure I could come up with some, but none on topic.
Okay. They don't got to be on topic.
You know Ren and Stimpy's last name? They got him. I don't know. I remember it, but I don't. I don't.
I don't, but I would like to know. So please share in the comments.
I remember reading it, but I forgot what they were.
I miss some Calvin and Hobbes, comic-wise.
Yeah. SpongeBob is also,
SpongeBob is an ascended master. I watch SpongeBob when I need to really recenter and remember what the meaning of life actually is. Because SpongeBob teaches life's meaning. I know that's a crazy thing to say, but when you watch SpongeBob and you listen to him for a minute, he's actually incredible at being happy where he's at in the moment that he's in and loving his friends for who they are and not da da da. We don't have that much of this left, which is great because we're more than halfway through.
Okay, let's see if that'll work now.
Okay.
I nudged it. You got a nudge.
I'm going to power drink this.
Oh no, it's going to be a shot. I'm going to sip mine while you're doing that. But I don't mind. This one wasn't bad. This one had a nice little soft, creamy.
I have to say that you're correct. It was not bad.
It was not a bad one.
All right, I'm going to take my angle brush again, my 3/4 inch angle brush, and I'm going to come with just some yellow. And I'm going to make sure my brush is well loaded. And we're going to come in the middle of this reflection and add some just yellow. And then I'm going to make sure my brush is well rinsed out, or switch brushes. If you can't get the color out of your brush, you can like switch brushes, or you got to just make sure it's really well rinsed out. Take a little bit of white over to my yellow. This one I kind of go across at. I'm just making sure that I've got a nice hot center in my little lake. I feel like it's gotten angled, so I'm going to very carefully straighten it out. A little bit of a reflection down that center. A little bit more white at the center and then coming up there. All right, so now we have the beginnings of the reflection in the pond.
In the pond.
In the pond. Isn't that wonderful? In the pond. All right, I want to dry everything.
Okay, you do that. I'm going to answer a question.
Okay.
So, over here in the question section, I see Jules asking, John, is your brush soap available for purchase yet? And yes, with a caveat. I have some of our first batch of soap that I made, which was what we call, it's lightly scented. And I'm doing another batch now that it is where it's our proper, what we would call regular scented, which is really nice. And it's not overpowering, but it does leave a nice scent in the room. It does and so that soap I'm hoping to start up in the next few days, and we'll have it available shortly. So because the new soap process is much more efficient than the old one. But I will talk more about that soon.
In a moment. Soon. All right. So I'm going to take a big brush. This is a number 6 Isabey Isacryl, but it's a nice big round. It's kind of this compared to my pinky. Just a nicer, bigger round. I'm going to get it a little bit wet. Take some white over to my ultramarine blue. And we're going to reline. We're going to reset the embankment here. The first one we're going to do is we're going to come across here. Give it a nice little straight line. And then I'm going to come in with my brush. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm going to come forward with this one. And then I'm Just keep painting, just keep painting. So see how I'm using my brush to create the edge of the shape of the pond. Grab a little bit more blue on here, and let's make maybe an indent. So we're starting to get this little uneven edge that makes up our pond. Now I'm going to do an interesting thing. I'm going to kind of turn this upside down. I'm going to make sure my tape is still attached to my painting where it goes. This will be fun for the replay.
Replay, yes, it's true. Now I'm gonna go back over here and I'll adjust that over. You're just do that.
I'm gonna do this so I can see, so I have the same. So what I'm doing is I'm flipping and reversing this so that I can see it, and I'm just painting it back the opposite way. A little glazing liquid just to improve the flow.
Yep. Just putting the banks in horizontally, and that.
Yeah, and it's going to help me create the right pond opening. So this lets me get this complex banking system. Okay, and then you're getting a complex banking system. It's okay if yours is a little different from mine. Every time you do this, it'll be a little bit different because we're not copy machines. That's not what we're doing. All right. But what we want is a little keyhole with a pond and a reflection that you've got. Now I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of the snow color, the purple that was down here. That was the Cad Red, Quinacridone Magenta, Dox Purple, and I've got the Ultramarine Blue on my little brush here. And I'm going to come here and dry brush a little bit of this little pink back here to kind of show it. A little bit of a darker version of it. All right, now rinse that out. I'm going to want to dry everything as per the usual, as you see me often do.
Yep, gotta dry.
Dry.
So I'm gonna go over here and say thank you to everybody here asking about all of the soap. Yes, I will actually probably make a video about making soap, like not how we make the soap, but like, you know, kind of some stuff that'll say, like, show you the soap getting stirred in a cool dramatic way, and then you will have some pouring shots so you can see me pour the soap out into some.
What? You're not
and then-
going to film any of that.
I know I've got to do it someday. I just don't have a lot of time. But I mean, that's what it would be. It would be just like I don't know what you would show in it. It's just sort of like there's mixing and then pouring and then cutting and then putting in a box. That's
Yes, there is.
Oh, there's a stamping part in there too.
There's a stamping part in there, too.
Oh, thank you, Nance. Thank you for being you too.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to get my brush wet. This is a number 8 D'Artagnan round.
It's a Nance party.
And it's going to let me do some nice dry brushing in and painting of some snow. I'm going to take a little bit of my Quinacridone Magenta over to my Ultramarine Blue and create a nice little purple. I can add a little Cad Red to it to warm it up a bit. I'm going to come here and brush up a little bit of grass. I'm just flicking the brush upwards. See how it's just kind of a hot, messy brush, and I'm just leaning into it. You could use a Deerfoot stippler here, a filbert grainer, a fan brush. Lots of brushes would do this work. Bring a little bit of this little white there. Come back and forth. I'm going to blend this edge. A little bit of pink down. Get a little of my purple here. Just kind of changing up like the colors of the snow. Brush that downward, kind of imply a bank. A little more blue down here.
I'm going to say thank you to Julie and thank you to Angela. Both. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Angela. Thank you guys for coming to the live and participating. Notice that I'm leaving lots of areas that don't have the purple color. Bring this forward here a little bit. A little bit of that blue there. Rinse out. Take a little bit of my blue out here. And just start to brush back in some blue snow.
That's a snowbank.
Yeah, we're just snowing it up. Just giving snow.
See, I think this could be Prince's backyard. Just looking out. Purple snow.
Well, thanks to this last few years, I finally know that Prince is Prince from Minnesota.
I don't know.
So
But I mean, like, this is.
I learned Minnesota was someplace like crazy. I learned that this year. Did not know it. Learned so many things this year I did not know. Coming through here. Just cooling up. So we've got
Oh, yeah, thank
blue. We've got little hints of purple and pink. It's just getting a little bit molded.
Thank you, Angela. Yeah.
Thank you, Angela. Add a little blue up here. Get back into some purple.
Oh, thank you, Elaine. See that there? Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. A little pink in it. And now I'm going to come and kind of add that little snowy grass. Flicking that upwards. That's what's creating that little sense of distant shrubberies.
They are distant.
Distant shrubberies. Distant shrubberies, 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 shrubberies. Back and forth, creating a little bit of a embankment here, a little bit of color. A little bit coming through here.
Just shading the banks.
Just putting in, yeah, getting some bank color in.
This is this is a lesson you can take to the bank.
Take this one to the bank, I agree. I'm adding
It's
a
right
little
there.
red into my mix and a little white. Just warming up some of the pinks.
More bank.
More bank. So much bank. Maybe putting lots and lots of blue through here so it's okay to pink it up. Notice I'm leaving areas that are just blue, and then when I come back and paint blue, it's going to create that sense of things. And then when we highlight with the white snow, it creates that sense of a cool landscape.
Oh, neat.
This is one way of doing it. Another way is being very monochromatic.
You really squished that brush.
I am. I'm giving it a hard time.
You're squishing.
I'm giving that brush a hard time.
Scrubbing that bank out.
Just giving some pinks and purples out here so that there's some color. I'm going to rinse out. Get a little bit of blue over here. A little bit of white. And a little blue back. And you can layer over.
Yep. Adding more.
More blue into that mix.
That's what makes it have the sort of excellent. That's what gives it that complexity of of the bank. So it actually looks like a dimensional bank is having those layers of colors.
It really helps. Now I've got to come into my little purples over here. Maybe I'll come down into this one too.
Into the purples.
Into the purples a little bit.
How unexpected.
Right here in this mid-range, I'm going to need more of a little shadow of this bank. That's where I'm going to put my trees. That's where the trees are going to go. But for right now, this is what I need to do to paint in the base landscape.
The base landscape.
The base landscape needs a dry.
Okay. It can be dry.
Dry.
And we will watch it dry because that's what we do. We watch the paint dry while she dries the paint because I can't do really much else. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share while we have nothing else to do while we're watching the paint dry. We could stretch. We've been here for a little while, so it would be a good time for you to pause, make a stretch, get your all the clicks and the pops and the snaps and the parts, make them all go click, 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 and then give it a little stretch, and then, don't be leaning too much over your table or anything. Make sure you get your arms and back and stuff stretched out and all that kind of stuff. Little toe wiggles, all the parts. So
all the parts. All the parts. Have a sip of your kombucha if you're drinking.
Yeah.
Kombucha. Or probably you're not because it's a weird drink.
But we do around here.
It's a probiotic. It's good for your little belly.
It is indeed.
All right. Now I'm going to take my number 6 Raphael Sepia Round. Get a little bit wet. I'm going to grab some Just Blue on my brush. I'm going to come here and add a little dimensional shadow along the back. That starts to just give some shape to what's going to come here. Yeah, it just kind of 3 dimensions it.
It does. It really. And this is one of those things where when you see it when you do it to on your own, it's just so amazingly dimensional in the room. The video does not do it justice.
Well, thank you. Doesn't do it justice.
It does not.
No justice. No justice for this painting. Doesn't do it. I'm trying to shade the parts of the bank that would be blocking the sunlight and would have the deepest shadow. This is in the light, so I wouldn't shade right there.
Although I think if Justice did play this scene, it would be Waters of the Nazareth.
I don't know that.
It's a band. Justice. You know them. They're the ones that are kind of like Daft Punk, but they're new and a little more hard rock.
I don't know them. You're always into music I'm not aware of. That's you.
When I show them to you, you'll be like, oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. And Song with Newgrounds, where they played that kind of like football game, but it was also like they had lacrosse sticks and motorcycles and roller derby.
Well, I got nothing here. You're just like it's not getting better. It's not getting better at all.
They did the music video with Susan Sarandon and the Silver Car.
Got it. You should. I'm not that familiar with them. I only know that because you made me watch that video because it had Susan Sarandon in a silver car. I don't even know I watched the whole thing. I don't even know I did. Marriage. That's why I watched it.
Good band.
Yeah. You keep up on music better than I do. All my new music comes from my teenagers. When they're like, Mom, have you heard this song? The only reason I know anything modern. You find your stuff on your own. You show the kids stuff they don't know about. Wild. All right. So I've shaded that, and to do the next little trick, I do want to make sure that this paint is dry. If it's dry, I can do the next little trick.
Okay. Same step?
Yeah, we can make the same step.
All right.
I'm going to take a T-square and make a series of little lines.
Now, why are you using T-square?
So that my little snowbanks will look like they're level.
Ah, so they remain horizontal.
Mm-hmm. If
And
they get to the angle, they won't look right.
so if you tilt them all, it looks like the water's sliding off the surface.
It does. Even though you could actually have the snow collapse in all kinds of different directions, it's just going to read weird.
It will make your viewers confused. Their brain will go, "What?"
What? So by taking, this is a credit color chalk pencil. You could use the Dritz chalk tool. I'm just making little guidelines that will help me plant out my snow. I can fill it in more than this, but as long as I get these basic ones in correctly, then I can add little minor ones. Just adding some in. The other tool you could use, the other one I mentioned, if you have this one, if you purchase this one, you can use that one in this place. This is a Dritz chalk tool. It's a Taylor's chalk. You can get it at Joann's or online. I don't get the knockoff one because I don't think it uses chalk. I think it has a wax based. It doesn't remove easily. That's anecdotal. But that's my opinion. Oops, that's not where that goes. Now I'm going to take my round brush again. Get a little bit of my white, and I don't mind if it's tinted a little tiny bit with the blue. See how we're just putting little banks out there.
That's some snow on the water.
Snow on the frozen water. You're just putting it out there, and that just keeps it level.
You know,
Hmm.
it's kind of fitting.
Hmm.
You could call this Snow on the Water by Deep Purple.
You're having a day today. This purple snow has just thrown you so much.
Well, no, Deep Purple was a pretty good band.
I'm sure.
And, their song was Smoke on the Water, but I think Snow on the Water is appropriate.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. So now we've got some little snowbanks here.
Look, there's even fire in the sky.
All right. Now let's dry it and call it a new step.
Okay. She's not agreeing, I don't think. Maybe. We'll have to see. But, I'm glad you guys are still hanging with us through this. We're going to let her dry this, and then we'll come back and do another layer on this excellent painting. We still have to do the 4 trees. Those 2 little guys over there. Those are still got to come in there, and then some highlighty snow. Well, thank you, Nance, for coming. Sorry you have to run, but you know what? We'll be here frozen in time waiting for you to come back. Don't let that give any of you an existential crisis.
What?
That we'll be trapped here frozen in time if you hit pause for all eternity waiting for you to come back.
No, that's not a thing that would happen. I'm going to put out some more white paint. That's not a thing that would happen. No. No. How are you guys doing? Doing okay? Step 15. When we've been at this for a second.
For a moment.
For a moment.
It's a couple moments, I
All
think,
right.
now.
A couple moments.
I think
Landscapes. Oh! All right. Number 6 round by Isabe Isacryl. It's the one that's about the size of my pinky. I just want a bigger round to make this work. Take a little bit of my white snow. I don't mind if it's tinted with just a touch of blue, but I want it to be mostly white. And not too watery. Just run a little bit of light out here. Starting to add some light. Okay. A little bit here. Bring in a little bit of snow. And wiggle it out. Just creating a little bit of that bank.
Just adding the highlights along those banks.
Yeah, we're highlighting our little banks, letting them
I can see you focusing on those.
highlights. Just focusing a little bit on the highlights.
Yeah, you gotta get those in there. Bella says, "Thank you very much. Really loves how you paint and teach."
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I really, really do. Just coming along this little edge, just putting a little sunlight. And come here and along this little edge. A little bit of a wiggle here.
Mm-hmm. I love the rewriting of the songs that are going on in the chat. Relyricking.
Just the most fun.
Well, let's go over here. I gotta get a different angle on that. There we go.
A little bit of that there. Painting a little snow to the right. A little glazing liquid so it flows off my brush better. A little glazing liquid. Bring some little snowbanks over here. Shade that in. Let's bank it up.
Bank it up.
Bank your banks.
But don't bank ski your banks.
Don't bank ski your banks. Well, I don't know. Actually, do bank ski your banks. It would be great to do anything like bank ski.
We just never know.
We all wish to be Banksy. Well, I don't know we all wish to be Banksy, but fantastic artist. And
He's a fantastic artist, but I'm just saying, like, that's a mixed bag of what you're going to get. Never know. Could be cool graphic. Could be a self-destructing painting.
Could be.
He has.
All right, I'm going to turn my painting a little bit to the side so I can just have a better.
They don't find themselves constrained to one medium.
I'm coming along this little edge here. Here and there, just trying to dance some snow. Dance some snow here and there. Uh-oh. My tape fell in my paint.
Oops.
A little bit there. Now we have a little bit of snowbank going on. All right. Rinse, rinse, rinse. Rinse, rinse, rinse. Rinse thoroughly. So many brushes to wash after this one.
Yeah, that's all right.
All right, we're going to dry everything.
That makes sense. There's a lot going on here.
There's so much going on. So much.
So, yeah, you're going to want to make sure that you do dry this right now because all those white highlights, they're going to get, we're going to have to go over and paint some more stuff, and you don't want to drag it and get it smeared. So, while you're drying, give a little stretch, give a little thumbs up, do the things that YouTube watchers do. Don't click away. Stay. Don't leave. I don't know what to... Yep, we're still here.
Good.
I did not beg and plead for everyone to stay.
That's nice. I'm glad everyone decided to stay. Yay. Thank you for staying. Okay. I'm going to take a little bit of my black and brown together.
Black and brown.
Make a brown black. Still reads as a black, but it's got a lot of brown in it. There we go. And I'm going to add white.
That's a good question, Tess.
Hmm.
Would you like to know, can I go to the snowbank for some cold, hard cash?
Yes.
Good. It's good to know.
All right. So I'm going to come and plant a tree. I'm loading up my brush. I'm going to come right here. And this tree is going to come from here and grow all the way up. Canvas. Make sure your tree wraps around.
Yep.
Now this one is slightly smaller. Comes from the base and has a mild bend to it. Going between these two trees. Okay. Rinsing out. I'm going to want to take a little bit of my black brown. I'm going to come underneath here. A little bit there. And then I've got to dry everything.
Yep. Dry.
Dry. Dry.
And there's a good question here. Is there ever a time you would use a double-loaded brush in one of those kind of styles of painting?
Yeah, in a tall painting style, or in modern, you would say one stroke. That's a technique from like the 11th century, and it absolutely would do it. Double loading a brush is a great way to get an effect because it blends on the canvas. You could double load like half white, half dark on this and have the tree highlighted. We're going to highlight manually, but you could absolutely do that in the brush out. Totally allowed. It works better with fluid paint, or paint whose body is not as heavy as heavy body paint. Heavy body has to be modified to be thinned out a little bit so that it feels nice and fluid.
Good to know. So yeah, that's a good question. Thanks for asking that, Kelly. And I'll go back there and make sure. Oh yeah, Kristen, it can be scary to go over that part that you just painted, but you know that's it. It really don't be too afraid, because it really does come in nicely, and you can always sketch in with a chalk pencil if you need, or use the traceable, and then you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry too much. It will be.
It will be. Okay, Sarah. All right, I'm going to pull some just white over here. Get some glazing liquid. Load up my number 6, my Raphael sepia, which is much smaller. I'm going to come to the front of my tree. Make sure I have a nice highlighted front of the tree. Then I'm going to come and highlight the front of the other tree.
The front of the tree.
Now I'm going to get into the brown gray. And come back and do like a second little shading of the back of the tree.
Just line. Just giving that.
Yeah. And get a little bit of the slightly darker color. And then down here I might kind of scribble up the trunk.
Scribble up the trunk.
Scribble up the trunk. A little bit of a scribble. Scribble. And then to do the next part, I've got to dry the trees pretty thoroughly.
Okay. Drying trees.
Dry.
When that happens, the trees end up having to be dried. That's a good question there, Tess. Um, Hold on a second. I have to cough for just a second. It was a cough sneeze thing. I don't know. Anyway, what's a good inexpensive fluid paint? We don't use a lot of them here. I'll ask Cinnamon, but generally speaking, you can go and test those. From Plaid and folks like that, they tend to make a high version that's a high pigment, inexpensive soft body paint that you can get out there. So
Yeah.
they were just asking, do you have a suggestion for a good fluid paint that isn't expensive from Walmart or something?
If you from Walmart,
Or some, just big box store maybe.
what do I really love?
Like I was going to just suggest we don't use it a lot here. So testing is,
Yeah, what I would say is of the paint brands, like the Deco is really good, and the Americana line actually is, I mean, really good. Of those bottle paints, the craft bottle paints, that one's really good. This one, the Golden Artist Colors, makes a 1 ounce bottle of this. So if you just want a little bit of the fluid white or a little bit of the fluid black, the 1 ounce bottles, that can be pretty reasonable. And then, of course, Abstract Acrylic makes a soft bodied paint in a small pouch that's very inexpensive but yet high quality and could be very good for double stroke techniques. And then Alpha 6 makes a really good fluid. Like this is a buttery fluid. Like you can pinstripe with it, you can paint signs with it, you can paint clothes with it, and it's the coolest. So if I had a package, I would show you. It's a very cool paint if you're looking for a fluid paint to work with.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna take a little bit of my black and brown together and like a little more brown. Let it get into my gray area. And I'm going to come here and add a little brown white. And I'm going to get some black going on the tip of the brush. I'm using my number 6 sepia round. Down here, I'm going to do little scribbles. Scribbling up and down with my brush, toe of my brush. That's how we do the discoloration of the trunk down low. Scribbling here as well. Any scribbles will work. We're not, having them check your scribbles. And make little marks.
Stephanie was asking, do you recommend Phthalo or Ultramarine to mix with black to get Payne's Gray?
The truest of Payne's Gray. Okay, so here's what it is. If you mix Ultramarine with Mars Black, you have the purest, truest of Payne's Gray. But if you want that Payne's Gray to have a blue steel cast to it, then you use Phthalo Blue. If you want it to be a neutral blue gray, you use Ultramarine Blue. If you want it to be like a steel blue, you use Phthalo Blue. So if I just had one to use, I would do Ultramarine first. The trick of this is to do little lines and spots and things that look irregular. That's how we get the little birchy going.
Incredible.
Incredible what?
The birchiness.
It's so birchy, right?
It is.
Just go up and you birch the whole thing. So it's not stripes across the whole tree. It's little spots of black. Sometimes tiny little spots of black. That's how you birch it up. Birch it up, birch it up. Now the other tree needs a birching too. See how sometimes I start wider and then I get smaller in the little spot?
I do.
There's a scribbling nature to this. A couple little dark spots like that, focal there. Going up, making little irregular marks.
Yeah.
And then down low, I'm going to come here and make little grasses.
Those little flicky grasses.
Little flick grasses. They're dry and dead. Rinse it out. And then I'm going to grab some just white. And I'm going to go and add a little bit of a white highlight to the little grasses.
Oh, yeah.
Because they might have a little snow on them. A little bit of snow there. All right.
Wow.
I know, we did it.
It's just like kapow.
Kapow.
There was a painting.
A painting. We did a painting. All right, I'm going to take my little Corel brush here with the fine point and see if I can't get a good signature out of it. There we go.
That is amazing.
We did a landscape together today, guys.
Really, really.
This was fun. Thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed our little fantastical winter landscape. We're going to keep doing some more of these landscapes. We've got a lot of fun stuff coming up. There is a great Aurora Borealis fire landscape coming up. Lots of fun things to paint. I've got a bird with berries coming up. Tuesday night at, I think it's 5:30, we're going to paint a pine tree in a more realistic manner. Just the tree. We're going to do a tree study. So it'd be just a fun technique tune-up sort of thing. So when you're painting your little trees like this, by doing the study of the more detailed tree, then you can paint loosely a better loose tree. So your trees, when you're painting them in the distance or less detailed, will look more like the trees that they are, because you'll understand how those trees kind of go together on a structural level.
Right.
So that's kind of like, so that's how I can do like kind of loose little beginner birches here, because I've done like hyper detailed birches at some point. So I kind of know how the birch has got to be.
Right.
To be there. And so that's a fun thing to do. So I hope you'll come for that. Do we have the text thing that we can put up?
I don't. But they put it up in chat out here.
Okay, so they put it up in chat. You should see that in live chat. You can sign up for text notifications. We will text you when we're live or when we release a video, so you don't miss any like new content. I think we're going to be also starting to. We're going to try to see if we can't simulcast to Facebook here soon again.
Dual stream.
Maybe even Instagram. I don't know. All the places. Maybe Twitch. I don't know. But for sure, probably Facebook.
Yep.
And that way there's some other places, because we got to put all the content back. I lost all my content. They deleted me to 2019. I got to put some videos back on Facebook.
More videos, yes.
So people know I teach art over there. Otherwise, they're going to be like, why follow this page?
We'll start dropping it.
Yeah, and if you did unfollow the page because of the spam and you missed the vlog, we got our page back, and please follow the page again. So there's the group, which is the Art Sherpa Official. That's a private group, and that was never, ever hacked. That we, like, the minute my page went, we booted my page out of there. I got to put my page back in.
Yeah.
But I booted my page.
Yep.
So, but the page is back, and we're putting content on it again, and it's all just happy art, so would love it if you followed it, because I update, I put out, I let people know, like, stuff I'm working on the canvas, and upcoming lessons, and cool art tips. It's just art over there, art-related posts, art jokes, art things. So it's a super fun page. I can't wait to see yours. Please share with me on social media. I am on Blue Sky now. I'm at the Art Sherpa on Blue Sky. So if you're over on Blue Sky, if you got tired of Twitter, which is now X or something, if all of that was just too much for you. I know my feed became too much for me. I was seeing too much stuff that I didn't want in my feed. So I've kind of refocused over on Threads, and I moved over to Blue Sky, because I want a feed I can control. I want to see the people that I follow, and I don't want to see a bunch of junk that I don't want to see. So that's why I'm over there. And so far, a lot of our friends
Yep.
recommended it, and a lot of creators that I watch have moved over there, which like lets me know it's a good time to move over. Because I follow only the best creators with the best hearts, and so I know it's a good choice. No, I'm just kidding. But a lot of people that I follow have moved over there because they're also tired of the craziness over on X. So if you're just not loving X, I'm over there. Follow me. I will also post only art over there and art related jokes. It's going to be art themed over there. So art themed everywhere. And of course, you can follow my personal account, Cinnamon Cooney, and share with me directly. So those are all the places that you could share art with me and tag me in. I don't mind at all. I would love to see how yours came out. I hope you had a fun landscape day. I want you to be good to yourselves. I want you to be good to each other. And I will see you and an easel real soon. Bye-bye.